Welcome to This Week at Work Hard Pittsburgh. I'm Josh Lucas, chairperson of the executive committee, and to my right is...
Zabriawn Smith, executive in training.
And also astute member of the executive committee. Just a quick couple announcements. It seems as though the Work Hard Creative Meetups that was planned around photography has been postponed. I'm not real sure why. I think it probably has something to do with just being extra cautious regarding COVID. We have an upcoming Academy Pittsburgh graduation party, which is virtual, I believe. And then we are still trying to figure out our big Work Hard Pittsburgh member meetup, which is tentatively scheduled for May 15th. And that'll be outside at Shiloh Gastropub, which is a great place, and you should all go check it out. I thought today, Zabriawn, we would just talk about, products and why they are important to the co-op financially and in regard to its sustainability. Mm-hmm. Maybe take a look historically at how we've developed products and a forward look at some of the products that we've had in the making. So I think it's pretty fair to say that early on, we understood that for this whole ecosystem to work and for there to be enough passive income coming into the ecosystem, it was going to be important for us to collaborate as a team of tech and tech adjacent workers to develop products that could sustain us and generate some revenue. So when we talk about these products, sort of the first two that come to mind are Academy Pittsburgh and WH Digital. So for strangers out there, do you want to, Zabriawn, maybe tell people what each of those two products do?
Yeah. So WH Digital is a full-service digital media agency. What we do is we collectivize 1099 creatives as they work on larger projects as a group in order to accomplish digital media services, usually for businesses and nonprofit organizations.
And that's everything from content and ad tech and web development. And that's the bulk of this ecosystem's income to date. So every year, that agency does between $300,000, $400,000 of earned income. And then oftentimes there are large customer accounts on that product, usually a foundation paying us to do a thing related to economic development or job training or workforce development. So moving forward...
Well, we also have Academy. Academy is our PDE licensed school. Right now we have one, I guess, how would you delineate? Like, it's one course, and that course would be the Web Developer Bootcamp. It is a 12-week boot camp that runs from 9 to 5 and slowly drains away all of your life energy. But in exchange, Mephistopheles gives your skills in web developing so that you can go out, get a job, or even join WH Digital and help with some of the ad tech or the digital web services that allows you to do kind of like freelance work.
Yeah, and Zabriawn was in the last session, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Zabriawn's done that 12-week boot camp. Would you say that it was a useful experience, or how was it a useful experience to you? Because your career trajectory is a little different than a typical person doing that boot camp.
So for me, the most immediate thing was when I finished Academy, I immediately went and designed and deployed an entire website for my nonprofit efforts in Aliquippa. You can find that at www.quip.works. And for that, just to be able to go from having no idea how to create a website from scratch to being able to create a website from scratch was a big deal, because it allowed me to immediately connect with the rest of the community in a meaningful way. And, we're going to be able to continue to build on that. And that'll be my way of getting kind of on the job training. Whereas for some people, they have to get a job and then they have to join those groups, and work to build those skills. I kind of did it outside of a typical job.
Yeah. And so those two established products, it's important to say and keep reemphasizing that Without those two products and the income they generate, like this ecosystem would have ceased to exist years ago, right? It's important for membership and the community at large to understand that when you think about wealth building for people, when you think about how you can create systems and processes that allow everyday people to participate in that wealth building, that suite of products needs to be robust. It needs to be diversified. It needs to be grounded in reality. So a third product that is historical that we have here in the ecosystem are the real estate holding companies. So essentially, we have a handful of these different LLCs that house specific commercial properties, and then we generate income off of those properties through commercial leases or even residential leases. We have a couple apartments here as well. And Zabriawn, that's something you're interested in scaling moving forward, right?
Yes. So one of the things that we had the opportunity to work out with the acquisition of 120 Millbridge was project management as far as it relates to real estate and the construction process. So we had members such as Andrew Lester and Lewis Johnson who were able to kind of go forth and handle the redevelopment, so to speak, of that space, specifically on the second floor. So being able to build out that process of how exactly does it work to bring in someone who already has this expertise and kind of lean on that member in order to assist with getting the job accomplished. And now that we've kind of stretched and flexed that muscle, the idea would be that we are looking to acquire more properties of commercial or residential now and kind of stretch out that way. And in that way, it allows us to scale up member businesses as Andrew Lester runs, oh Lord, I always forget the name of it. It's 3D Plaster and Texture. 3D Plaster and Texture. Thank you. And Lewis Johnson runs Big Dog Management, which is a management company, property management company. So being able to scale up in a way that provides them both with work and allows their business to scale up is part of the model here, where we build businesses and we help other businesses grow within those businesses as well.
Yeah, let's speculate wildly about like what our real estate holdings might be in 10 years.
Oh boy, in 10 years, we could easily have like a significant residential portfolio. Just given how the housing market is now, there is potential in 5 years that there will be a lot of homes on the market. And being able to kind of take those and build those up and just rent them out is a very simple thing that you can do if you have the leverage of like something like Work Hard Pittsburgh, where you're coming in with a lot of cash, and in that we are able to kind of build that portfolio, help our sustainability for more ventures that might have more of a risk to it. But there's a lot less risk with residential. So I'm always pushing for, everybody needs a place to live, even if commercial looks a little sketchy or it's a little bit more difficult to get our hands on. Residential property always does a good job of at least performing in the way that you expect it to perform.
Yeah, and then a property like Millbridge, which we think is going to see substantial investment from potentially state and federal subsidies. Mm-hmm. You build that out. Maybe you invest $3 million in that build out, and then you release it all up, and that gives you an opportunity to refinance.
Right, exactly. And being able to refinance allows you to kind of pull out and essentially gives you a war chest where you have a lot of options. You could use that to kind of accelerate the repayment of some debt that was taken on. But additionally, you can go into other ventures such as the residential properties that we talked about. Another part of activating fully that 120 Millbridge space is being able to put certain structures in the lease agreements that would allow for community involvement. That's definitely something that we've talked about. Right now, there is a woodworking facility on the first floor. Being able to activate that so that members of the community can come in and kind of utilize it, not all the time, but in some type of makerspace capacity.
And just to be clear, like a refinance of 120 Millbridge would be on cash flow of the building.
Yeah.
So if that building has 3 stories, 15 tenants, and generates $20,000-$30,000 a month, you're all of a sudden then able to borrow substantial amounts of money, and that money comes in one big lump sum, and then you can be strategic, per your point, right, about what you do with that lump sum of money, whether it's buy more property, pay off some bad debt, pay for the next product line completely unrelated to commercial. So, in our portfolio of products, like these real estate holdings are leverageable assets that give us like flexible equity to do cool stuff with. We're going to try to keep this short this week because there's a lot going on and the edit takes a long time. But I wanted to talk about a couple products that we did not successfully launch and why those products failed. Specifically, UV light box. So way back in 2018, we just started developing a hardware product that was going to be a bougie, high-end light box that sterilized your keys that you could keep by your door. So we worked with a couple makers in town to prototype ways that might be constructed in an effective local way out of materials like stainless steel or wood or even some 3D printed plastic. We went through a whole sort of brand development, and then we got to the point where we had to order $6,000 of these special UV LEDs that would sterilize the products that you threw inside this little box. And this was all pre-COVID. So we were plugging along, and we hit one of those moments in time where we just didn't have $6,000 of liquidity to buy these LEDs from Alibaba, the Chinese version of Amazon.com. And so it sat there and just kind of sat idle for 3 to 6 months. And in that time, COVID-19 happened. And then all of the UV LEDs on the planet started getting bought up by other people, and other UV light boxes emerged. And so we just missed this huge opportunity to be positioned with this product prior to COVID. And then COVID hit, and it just didn't make sense for us to continue to kind of pursue it because there was just so much more competition.
So one thing that's important to note in that is that because of our structure, sometimes we are not as cash flow positive as we would like, as he just mentioned. But one of the things that is beneficial about the way we are structured is that we are just kind of by nature resilient. And in that sense, I mean, if a company had been like, if the UV Lightbox had been a standalone company in and of itself, and it had went through that hardship, that would just be the end and dissolution of the company entirely, right? Whereas Work Hard already had a number of sustaining things in the ecosystem that allows it to take a step over into certain spaces, take a look at it, see what's possible, and even put up, as we intended to do with the UV light boxes, almost like a test case to see how those things work.
Yeah, that development of that product was definitely us sort of practicing how to do a product. And we knew that in the moment too, that this was a rep for the community to get together and see what they could do. And it's the lesson in that, right, is we've got to get these products faster to market. Like right now, there's a half dozen products that are halfway done that sit in our ecosystem, and we aren't able to push it over the threshold to market because of cash flow. Again, it's just often cash flow more than it is staffing. So that's something that, in the next quarter or two, I'm personally going to focus on, because I think that's our only way towards real sustainability and real autonomy. It's nice that philanthropy supports us so deeply, but with those relationships comes some small loss of autonomy, or if not that, at least shaping your narrative and strategic plan to match somebody else's narrative and strategic plan, which isn't always the way to maximize the economic benefit of this ecosystem for the people that hold equity. So I guess the call to action here, if you are interested in participating in a meaningful way, putting some real authentic time into the development of some of these products, we could definitely use your help. But you have to be able to work effectively, and you have to be able to do so without a lot of management and oversight. So before you volunteer, just think deeply about whether you really have the capacity and the proper skill set to help move this along. But if you do, please reach out to me, and I'll give you tasks that will, potentially move one of these products to market, and over an 18-month period, that could mean a lot of revenue for us.
And maybe volunteer isn't the right term for that, because like anybody that comes in and helps in a meaningful way, right, obviously there would be some type of, could you explain, I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, we have time.
Just you've mentioned equity a few times, and just for people that are unfamiliar with kind of like how that works in this ecosystem, could you go over that a little bit?
Yeah, but before I do that, if you work on an internal project of the co-op, you always get paid $30 an hour, that stipend rate. So you'll be compensated for your time. Mm-hmm. If you choose to take that compensation, that's going to keep you from having equity in the specific product that's being developed if it goes to market and forms an LLC around it. If you volunteer your time, we will figure out some way to document that volunteer time and then pro rata reapply it to an equity stake in that new product against the co-op's kind of total equity stake. Mm-hmm. So an example of that, while not perfect, but I think at least elucidates how it might work, is Academy Pittsburgh, where John Lang owns 50% of the equity, the co-op owns 30%, I own 10%, and Jason owns 10%, our business manager, because those are the folks that put their free time in to develop Academy Pittsburgh way back in 2015. So let's wrap it up. Do I say goodbye to the people? I think I stole that from Dave Bracey. Doesn't Dave Bracey say hello to the people? I just said say goodbye to the people.
One of them does. Sometimes I forget which voice is which voice. Yeah, my name's Zabriawn Smith. I hope you guys have a good week.
Thanks to the production crew, Tyler and Ryan. And next week, me and Zabriawn won't be here, but somebody else will, so that we get a little bit of different perspective during these quick little podcasts. See you guys.